Hi, everyone. Welcome to day 33. 33. If you've been doing them all, and if you haven't, that's fine. You can always go back. There's something magical about 33 days. I woke up feeling great. So something really shifted for me because I was having a lot of back pain for like years, really. So 33 days. Thank you for joining me, however long you did it. And you can always go back and watch the recordings. I wanted to share with you, I got this yesterday from my cousin, who I didn't even know was tuning in. And it's really beautiful. She says, I think this comes right from the soul. I know it does. I'm enjoying your meditation. It's part of my intention to better me. I'm new to meditation and find it relaxing and thought-provoking. So I had to listen to today's twice because my mind was spilling words onto paper. I'd like to share. The rain falls upon you in the silence of stillness. In the moment of quiet, listen and feel the peace and tranquility of the spirit. Let the soul be open in awareness with beauty and radiance to receive the grace of God. Just that is just so beautiful, and it does come from the soul. And so this meditation touched her there, and that's where the healing is. So today's reflection, I think healing can't really be complete or even touched upon if we don't talk about the greatest healer that we know, written about in history, which is Jesus the Christ. And I use the word the Christ because that's the station, the anointed one, the one that's anointed by God. I haven't talked about that because I'm really very all-inclusive about all different religions. And so for my Jewish brothers and sisters and Muslim brothers and sisters, I'm thinking about that Christed light, that Christed position as the great healer. And that can be called by many names. In Christianity, of course, we have this man, Jesus, and not to get into theology, but I personally was, as a child, as like a 5-year-old, completely fascinated by the stories of how Jesus healed. And that brings me to what I'm going to do in a couple days. I'm going to take a couple days off, and June 1st, if you're watching this in real time, June 1st, 2020, these are timeless. But if you start with this meditation process, again, I'm going to do another 33 days of meditations on loving the greatest healer. And that's what we'll have our meditation on today as our last celebratory day of 33 days of healing meditations, because loving is what heals everything. And the Christ represents that loving. And so the next meditation series, I'm moving into meditations on loving. Call them Meditations Absorbed in Love, the loving in the heart of God. And this comes from something I was deeply touched in probably 40 years ago with a teacher, Ram Dass, who many of you have heard in the United States, heard of him. He was a Harvard professor named Richard Alpers, a good Jewish boy that went to India and studied with a saint called Neem Karoli Baba. And he and Krishna Das, who you may have heard of, Krishna Das's music. By the way, Ram Dass passed away this year in 2020, January, I think. Maybe it was December of 2019. I can't remember, but he just was complete loving, that man. And they told a story of they were with their teacher in India, a saint, Hindu saint, and they asked him how Jesus meditated. And the story goes that Neem Karoli Baba just went inside and you saw one tear coming down his cheek. And he said, Jesus was absorbed in love. I just don't know what's more beautiful than that. Actually, that makes me move so deeply in my heart. And so we're going to meditate on that, absorbed in love, and see where it takes us. So for today's, let's have a little bit of being absorbed in love and the healing of that transcendent loving and the mysticism of that, and the magic, and we'll just see where it takes us. So breathe in and breathe in the greatest, deepest loving you can imagine, as that clear breath of life infuses and permeates every part of your body, your mind, and your consciousness. And as you exhale, everything that is not of loving and of the heart and of the Christed light, whatever that may mean to you, whatever faith you're a part of, that being absorbed in loving just releases and transformed into greater loving. And breathe in and out. And we just invite and call upon the loving in God's heart, that breath of life, that grace, that state of being that is all accepting, all compassion, all giving of all needs, all fulfilled, all inspired. We call upon this energy of loving to fill every part of us, to heal every part of us, to bring forward the deepest worthiness and value we could ever know, even beyond what we can know. But what God knows about us. We lift our consciousness into what God knows about us, that we may look back on our beingness, on our existence, on our soul, on our life, with that loving with which God looks upon us, knows us, embraces us. In this loving, the healing energy comes forward in all that may not be well with us, whether we even know it or not. And we don't need to know all the parts that can be more healed. But those parts in this loving look of God, imagine that God itself is looking upon us in this moment. And we look upon God. And in that gaze between us, between our Creator and ourselves, that spark of the divine is ignited. And we know ourselves as part of God, as God, not the big God, but ourselves, even so, as co-creators with God, as children of God, as healed by God, as anointed by God, as loved, as embraced, as belonging. And we'll just take a few minutes to be absorbed in this loving, to listen to it, to experience it, and to know it. Now, in this presence of divine loving, let's take a moment to remember the very last thing you did today, yesterday, an act of loving. Did you speak kind words? Did you give a gift to someone? Did you acknowledge yourself? Did you reach your consciousness into the consciousness of the divine? What did you do? What action did you take that was so loving, so caring? And notice that whatever action you took, like a ripple, reverberated throughout the universe. Your moment of loving touched the world. It healed places that needed more loving. Like a pebble in a still lake, your action of loving rippled outward and healed someone or something somewhere. And you may never know, and you don't need to know. But your act of loving is an act of God. And think of another moment of loving, an act of loving. Perhaps it was just a kind thought. Towards someone or yourself, towards something in life, towards the world. And this act of loving also rippled through the world, through existence, and went right back into the heart of God. And you may choose this life of loving even more deeply than you ever have before. Not that there'll be recognition from outside yourself. And perhaps in this loving, you may even be struck against from those where this loving is too beautiful to bear, or shines a light on their own places that are not loving. But in this loving, you stand with God and can never be hurt. Oh, anything in your body, mind, or emotions that may not as yet have been healed, place it in this loving, in the sanctity of God's loving, and it is healed. And in this state of being, there is no separation between you and the heart of God. You are one within it. It is one within you. And your consciousness reaches even more fully, deeply, more high into the very, very courts of the Lord. And there the beings that have gone before, the saints, The angels, the masters of light and loving, turn towards you and welcome you into their plane of existence, your true home, the heart of God, in celebration that your consciousness has awakened to your true home. And it's a party. Welcome, beloved. Welcome to the waking. We need more of you awake to hold the light of loving for the earth and for all its creatures that inhabit the earth, for its rivers and mountains and skies and oceans and air, those who hold in loving, those who hold in grace, do the work of the Most High and belong to the Lord and belong to themselves and their souls. And you see this loving go across the planet, lifting and healing all those that may need it, all those places on this earth that need it, all those areas that have been in disturbance, all the people that have been in illness. For as you're healed yourself, you hold in the healing light for others, for the earth, for the beings of the earth. And you can see all the light bearers joined with the angels and masters of light, holding hands, creating a great matrix around the planet. And you see the radiance of sparkling golden, silvery light engulf the planet and each of the beings, including yourself, that are holding in this light web surrounding the planet. All that is not of this light is lifted, transfigured into greater light, and blessed. And all the light bearers in you are blessed also. Breathe this energy in, this radiance, this grace. This healing light of the Christ, of the great healer, the great healers that God has placed on this planet, and you are one. You can claim that for yourself. Claim all your healing and walk free and liberated in the loving of God's heart. Let's take a few more moments in stillness, in silence, in listening, in celebration. And just be aware of the fun of God's loving. the joy, the happiness, the laughter. And in this court of the Lord, we can hear God's laughter and of all the spiritual light beings, healers, the great laughter and joy and delight and happiness in you and in all of us. This is home. Let's live in this place and share it and touch to others with it. And when we're filled with challenges, just remember this place and come back. It's always here. Heaven is always present. And so when you're ready, find your breath, find your body again, bring that joy and laughter, that celebration. However long you did it, if you did it 33 days, wow. If you did it once or twice, wow. If you go back and do it again, awesome. If you like this series, share it. Let your friends, family know that there's a new one coming. Meditations on the loving of God, absorbed in love, meditations on love and reflections on love, starting in a couple days, June 1st. So you could send them the link, just link it in my channel, and then tell them to subscribe and click the notification little bell. And then when I do one, they'll be notified a few minutes before. I'm not sure, but YouTube will send them an email. And I hope you continue on. This has been my great joy. Oh, I'm getting old. It's been my great joy to do this. I wouldn't do it without you. So thank you. I've learned a lot, and I've grown in this 33 days. And I'm always amazed with focus, we grow so much in really a short amount of time. It's pretty awesome. But that's the energy of divinity, and it's doing it all. Namaste, everybody. The blessings already are. See you next time.